Llama. This is great. Right here. Good morning from Cynthia Rose Healing Arts Sanctuary in Monument, Colorado. I look outside every time. That's funny. I am checking to make sure the mountains are still there.
Yeah, they're still mountaining.
What do you like outside? I've been up for an hour, but well, more than that. So it's a beautiful day here in Monument, Colorado. The sun is shining and, we're quarantined. So, but this is like my normal life anyway. So welcome. Nobody's on yet, but welcome to our daily alignment. For those of you who will join now and who will watch later, today we are going to be talking about, this was a question that somebody asked me in a private message. And I think I remember who it was, but wondering how to stay positive, centered, grounded, harmonious, when we're surrounded by people, or even just around one other person who's choosing to be, in fear or be really pessimistic or negative. What are the things that we can do to help ourselves stay harmonious within ourselves when we're surrounded by that? Okay. Wherever that is, whether it's at work, at home, over the telephone,
at the store,
anywhere. Well, yeah, the general public too, when you do have to go out and get your toilet paper.
If they have any.
If they have, yeah, they don't. Well, I was thinking about that this morning, and I was thinking, my God, what does this look like for the forests? For the trees, when this demand for toilet paper is clearly, it must be at an all-time high right now, because it's the most important thing.
Yeah.
That and bottled water, and looking at the production that must be going on right now, and what's happening to our tree friends, because we for some reason decided that we needed to stockpile flats of toilet paper in our garage or whatever. It's like, shit, that's not where we want to go. So booty squirters. Get yourself a booty squirter. All right. So let's start with a 3 breath, dropping into the fields of our hearts, because I was feeling a little irritated this morning. I was frustrated with myself because I was not on time, but it's okay. So I need to get myself in a different state. So let's take 3 long, deep breaths. 5 count in, 5 count out. And let's drop our awareness into the field of the heart, or raise our awareness into the field of the heart, so that we can view our experience through that unified lens that isn't polarized by judgment. And in such, the mind is being informed by the heart, as opposed to the heart being informed by the mind. Okay, think of something really yummy that feels good in your heart, and really feel that. Maybe gratitude for somebody in your life who is very optimistic and positive, and always reminds you to look on the bright side. Those people are a gift. Okay, so is there anything else we want to do? I get that I want us to wiggle our toes together, because that's fun. Yeah. Good morning, Trevor, Kim, and Spencer. Thanks for joining. Is that Spencer? Is that Spencer? Yeah, it's just a different Spencer than what I know. Oh, I didn't tag you in the video.
Oh, well.
Okay.
Those who know.
Those who know. So here today again with special guest Sheldon Ray Bird. He's here for another half a week or so. And then he's going to brave the airport and the flight home.
Yep.
So we've got a bunch of projects to complete before that happens. So hopefully everybody, good morning, Carrie. Hopefully everybody is feeling good. Let's wiggle our toes a little bit more. For some reason, this is feeling really good for me this morning. So, maybe we need to walk and exercise a little bit too. Yeah. So I know Bodhi would appreciate a walk. He's been in the rug. So, okay. One of the things that someone also asked about was boundaries, setting healthy, I think, getting along with other people, I guess, as it relates to boundaries, kind of was what she was asking, right? Okay, so we'll include that too. And I think that was Sophia that asked that. All right. So, Sheldon, do you have anything to say about the topic of conversation today? Should I pass it over to you?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So, this is something that I still sometimes work on, but a lot of times self-awareness seems to be the biggest thing that helps you out in this situation, when you're surrounded by people who aren't seeing the clear picture and you really want to be the positive light that you are amongst all the really weird, dense, confusing stuff. And, I think back to my times in the kitchen. I think back to my times at school where, there's just a sense of keeping to yourself, but like in a strong way, not in a like, go away type thing, but more of a, this is who I am. This is what I'll be forever. So there's some sense of self-awareness and self-empowerment within
Having
that.
a strong sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Know
Yeah.
thyself.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. So starting with there, yeah, I agree, because a huge part of not being affected by other people's bullshit is to know what's yours and know what's not yours. It's kind of what you're getting at too, but
Yeah.
to maintain that baseline of your normal, your status quo, if you weren't surrounded by those people, yeah, sure, you're going to be impacted by the people around you. And this is one of the reasons why it's really important to make sure that when you can choose who you're around, sometimes at work you can't, but maybe you need to look at another job.
Yeah.
It's so important to really be discerning about the people that you allow close to you in your life, and make no apologies for saying no to people. And that's part of boundary setting. It all ties together with boundaries. If there are people that are just absolutely gross and negative in your life, and they feel like it's okay for them to slime that all over you, and you're just trying to function and cope and do okay, especially in the middle of all of this right now, it's okay for you to say, you know what, GTFO. Like, I love you, and no, and it really is, it's an I love you, and you're not being loving by saying no to people who are creating extreme disharmony for you. And the thing is, if you can have conversations about it and meet one another in a place that is healthy and harmonious, then please do that. I will always promote trying to learn more about one another, and go into the depths of why we are feeling and thinking the way that we are. And that's valuable. But, if you have people in your experience that have shown you that they're not willing to talk about it, they're not willing to budge on it, I'm never going to change and you're just going to have to deal with it, that kind of thing. Because I know I've encountered that in my life, and it was very difficult.
Yeah.
It was very difficult. And that person didn't respect my boundaries and all that kind of stuff. If someone is that bad and you're not able to work with it, and it is just creating undue stress in your life, and I mean, for me, it was beyond undue stress. It was causing physical disease in my body. That's how stressed out I was. Like, I would get these stress ulcers on my lips and inside my mouth from having to deal with the emotional stress of someone who was just really not beneficial for me. Bless her heart, and she was family until she wasn't anymore, but it's that it's okay to unapologetically remove yourself from the experience of people who are toxic. Okay. Now, I know that there are some of you who are living in the same home, and right now more than ever, that's, oh crap, you're living in the same home with somebody who's operating in a more dense frequency. Can you be compassionate toward what's happening with that other person and understand that that's coming from fear within them? Is there a way for you to, if they will talk with you at all, is there a way for you to talk with them and get to the core of the reasons why they're feeling so negative in a compassionate way? do you have the energy for that? You might not. But if this is something that you can't get away from, the best thing that you can do, is what Sheldon said: take care of yourself, tend to yourself, do the things that you need to do to be okay. And there's this toxic positivity thing that is now becoming, I mean, it's probably always been a thing, and maybe now we're just talking about it, but the spiritual bypassing and there's toxic negativity and toxic positivity, because it's disingenuine, basically. Somebody who's super negative is probably being more genuine than somebody who's being forced positive. Like somebody's like, fuck this shit, this is terrible, I hate this, everybody's gonna die, blah. It's like, that's probably pretty genuine for that person. And the other person said, like, no, everything's gonna be totally okay, and I'm just gonna have some coffee and everything will be fine, maybe I'll drink 5 bottles of wine later. But it's like, it's okay. Let's be genuine and authentic, and let's honor that when the people around us are willing to be honest about what's really going on with them. And when somebody's being really negative, in my experience, it's because there's stuff that's happening for them that is hurting them, that feels confusing, that they're afraid about. Can you have the courage to embark upon that conversation? But can you have the compassion and the respect, as well, instead of, just being in your own bubble and being in your own world and saying, well, I don't like how this feels, this makes me uncomfortable because that person's super negative. That's not contributing to a meeting place there. And if we can meet one another in the middle, because any polarization is not going to be the whole story.
Yeah.
So if you can meet that person in the middle somewhere, maybe, we think about what works with children. When children are in a really negative mind frame, cognitive behavioral therapy is the thing. It's what I do. Cognitive reframing, to help them focus on the things that they can feel grateful for in a loving way, not in a judgmental way, but by saying, what, I hear you. Maybe I hear you, instead of being like, I don't want to hear your negative bullshit. Maybe actually listen to what they're saying and be willing to hear them and be willing to sit with the discomfort that you have in that. That's a good starting point. Because the person who's on the side of being positive is the one that's probably going to be more capable of engaging in that conversation in a way that could move it into something different. The negative person is stuck in a loop, a feedback loop of fear, bias, thought, basically, and feelings. And it's really uncomfortable to be there. Mm-hmm. I'm glad I'm not there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So over to Sheldon, because I feel you got something really good to say. Yeah. So, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Pixie.
Pixie's there.
Yay, Pixie.
And Rin and Cheryl. Oh my gosh, Cheryl, it's so good to see you. I was talking about our success with your arm yesterday on my video. And Sydney and Mark, good morning. Thank you for joining. Okay.
Nice. Yeah. So when you're lucky enough to have this experience with someone more than once, let's say every day at work, some days are great. Some days people just get all up in your grill and things are weird. That's a good time to make the conversations. When it's just like in public, when you see people only one time ever, then that's a different kind of thing, because you can just, maintain yourself through that. But, there's a conversation to be had by people you see a lot, because then they're more of a part of your life. And it's like, it's really responsible, I guess, of your own energy to help them out, help them be better, I guess. And I'm not saying better as in like good and bad, but better as in more in harmony with themselves and with your energy, so that there's not this unneeded tension. Unless you're trying to learn, it's up to you, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm speaking more to those situations that we have where we're having to either live with that type of energy, a person who's operating that way, or be in an environment with that person on a regular basis. And we can touch on the more temporary stuff a little bit more too. But yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. So hey, Sophia, we're touching on your question the other day. Good morning, Sarah. Sophia, you had asked for us to speak a little bit about boundaries, and when you have a chance to go back and watch the beginning part of the video, we addressed that a little bit, and we'll continue to address that as it relates to another question that someone asked about, how do we handle being in an environment? And I think that, like I said earlier, I think that this person is actually living in an environment with people who are in a very negative mindset. Maybe that's typical for them, or maybe it's just happening now because of what's out in the world and they're overwhelmed with, all the negative vibes that are out there and not able to rise above it. So I think this is a really useful topic for pretty much everybody, really. Now, I have been fortunate to be successful enough to be able to disentangle myself from any relationships that did have that kind of energy. People who are operating in, pessimistic, negative, maybe even toxic mindset. They're not a part of my life. I'm fortunate that I can do that because, I'm out here in Colorado. My family was great. I don't have any quarrels with my family. There were some things where I think they were a little bit confused and didn't understand what was happening with me and didn't communicate well. But, they're great people. I didn't have that growing up. I didn't grow up with drama and toxicity. So I was very fortunate. And in such, I was able to set healthy boundaries for myself as I went through my life and who I wanted to interact with and who I didn't. And, toxic people were never a part of my experience unless it was something that was unavoidable, like work or, ex-mother-in-law. I love her, bless her heart. But that was a very uncomfortable experience for me. So, what else did I want to say about that? So Tammy's saying, I hear you. I joined almost right away. Oh, you did? Okay. All right. That's interesting that we don't see, it looks like people are joining. Yeah. Like it looks like Alistair just joined and I don't know when he joined. So that's good to know that people are actually on here, but we can't see. Okay. So what else do I want to say about that? Okay. So let's say I'm living in a house, whether it's a roommate, a partner, a family member, even it could even be our children might be really negative too, and we love them, it's not about not loving someone to set boundaries, it's about loving yourself and in such loving them as well. But if I was living in an environment with somebody who is really negative, I know that would take a toll on my well-being and my health. And I do understand that that's tough. Okay. So the best advice, we've already offered some good tidbits so far. The best advice that I can offer is, if you can't move beyond having to be in the same space with that person because it's just not possible, then really fortify your own well-being in your ability to let it slide off your back like water off a duck's back, when it's really not about you. And I think the question is, why am I making someone else's negative outlook about me? Why is this impacting me as much as it is? What are the things that are uncomfortable inside of me that maybe I'm not addressing that are a part of this negativity showing up in my experience? Those are all good questions. Really go within and do the detective work as to what you're trying to show yourself with this, this negativity that's showing up outside of you. Are there things that you're not being honest about that maybe you do feel afraid about, or you have negative attitudes about that you don't want to admit? Are you being honest with yourself? Really have a look at where you're reflecting maybe something back to yourself in that mirror that is actually about you. So that then from that place, and this touches on what Sheldon's talking about, from that place of self-awareness of going, okay, all right. So, you can catalog it. Okay, this is my shit. This is my shit. This is, okay, well, I don't really have any resonance with that. I can't find it anywhere in here. Okay, that, you can just take this and put this over here. That belongs to you. We have our little baskets, right? Like, here's your shoebox and here's mine, okay? And it's a healthy activity to do that. And it's not about blaming and saying, well, you're a terrible person because of this. It's about ownership and accountability and saying, yeah, you know what? Because I used to say, I'm like, not by circus, not by monkeys, and then I evolved into, Well, yeah, some of the monkeys are mine and some of them are not mine. And then I'm like, well, shit. Yes, it is my circus and they're all my monkeys. Every single one of them are my monkeys. Ultimately, my monkey, my monkey, my monkey. Okay, mine. All right. And it's like, how can I help in this situation? Okay, so I can see the monkeys that are mine and the monkeys seem like the monkeys that seem like they're not mine. And I can go, how can I help in this situation? A, how do I help myself be well? And then B, how can I show compassion for this other person and really meet them in the place that they're ultimately asking to be met by being the way that they are, and give them permission to be where they're at. I think part of the reason that we're uncomfortable with it is because we judge it. And it's like, if somebody's really, really negative, it has to do with things that are happening inside of them that they're not being honest about and they're not talking about, that are the reason for that. And I've seen in myself, I've gone from a place of being very hopeful and optimistic and positive about some things. And I've watched myself feeling very pessimistic and hopeless. And that is a really uncomfortable feeling. It hurts to feel that way. Okay. So please remember that that's not an enjoyable state for that person to be in. There's so much toxicity and bitterness and brewing and stewing happening inside of them that they don't understand how to help themselves. So be kind and offer, point to things. I know that I'm really on a roll here, and I'll pass it over to you in a sec, but
that's okay. You're saying like most of what I would
Sam,
say.
right? We're all up in it.
Yeah.
Offer them opportunities to feel encouraged and supported. And, maybe it's so easy when you're around someone who's exhibiting behavior that makes you uncomfortable to point to all those things and go, all of this sucks. You're a sucky person. I don't like being around you. But not everybody is awful all the time, So where are those places, even if they're tiny little things, where you can point to those behaviors and attitudes and whatever and say, wow, gratitude. Thank you for this, or, I noticed the other day when you were talking to this person that this was what was going on. And I really enjoyed listening to that. Would you like to talk a little bit more about that? Encourage them to talk about the things that aren't all negativity, because it is really a stuck place that people get into, and really encourage them in a way that you would a small child, positive reinforcement. What are the things you're seeing that they are doing? How are they showing up in a way that you can reinforce? Don't focus on the bad. All right. It's not really bad, but don't focus on that stuff. Focus on what you want to see from them. And everybody has good inside of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And help them acknowledge what's really going on.
Mm-hmm. We're like plants. And, we grow towards the sun. And if we're moved, like we're a potted plant and we're moved to a different window where the sun's over here, we're growing this way. But then like we start growing a different way. So like whenever the light that you offer people is shunned towards like, a more brighter state, then that really helps them grow in a certain way that is really helpful to them too. And, instead of like, growing in some weird corkscrew that's like just, oh, everything's bad. Oh God.
Yeah. So I think that I missed what you're saying because I was reading a comment.
It's okay.
Were you speaking to setting the example and of positivity? Were you speaking to that? Basically
encouraging them to not talk about the negativity all the time.
Right. Yeah. And it's not about bypassing it and avoidance.
Yeah.
But it's about shifting your focus and your own, when you shift your focus and look at the things, what are the things that you can control? What are the things that you can have an impact on in all of that, and focus on where you can be productive, and what example are you setting? Because when we point to someone else and we say, you're doing things that suck and make me uncomfortable, and I don't like you and I don't like your behavior and all of that, then how are they going to meet themselves in a place that's better? Because then they feel judged, whether they're being honest about that or not, or whether they even understand it, who knows, but they don't feel accepted. They don't feel like who they are and what is happening for them is okay, it doesn't feel safe, you know. It equals or sorry. Oh, okay. Something about monkeys. um there's a comment a little up higher that I would like to read more about from Sophia. So good morning, Sam and Nicole and Joan. Thanks for joining.
Doug. Hey, Doug.
We're talking about how to relate better to people who are in a more fear-based, negative, judgmental mindset, and how to maintain a state of well-being when you have to be in an environment with people like that. And we all have the capacity to be whatever. What are you trying to do, Boo?
I'm trying to scroll down and it's like not moving at all.
Use the up button. Use 2 fingers on the pad. We might be jammed because it's glitchy. I'm seeing that our screen is glitching.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. Okay. So I can answer your question, Sophia, if it needs to be answered in a comment later. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what else do we want to say about that? Again, it's really important to notice if you are in judgment of that person that you're dealing with or the people that you're dealing with, then you got to look at your own stuff in that. Read the 4 agreements. I've said that before so many times. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Hi, Douglas. Thank you. We are receiving the love and the light. Thank you so much. Sophia. Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Now it's moving.
Yeah. Now
okay.
it caught up.
I got you. Okay. So what was I saying? Yeah. Look at where your own stuff is and all of it and what you're reflecting back to yourself. I already said that. And okay, so to add to all of that, what are the energetic practices that you can integrate into your day? What are the alignments that you can make to help yourself stay more centered, grounded, harmonious, and neutral within yourself, so that the things in your external world are not affecting you in such an impactful way and in such a negative way, really. And definitely look at moving beyond relationships with people who are not feeding your best, and it's not about avoidance. It's not about running away from things and saying, well, this is uncomfortable, so I'm going to run away from it. Do your best with it. And if you can't, meet in a place that's healthy, then it's not healthy. So, but really ultimately it's about meeting ourselves in a place that's healthy and then rippling that out and drawing in from there. And that's alignment, When we're healthy within ourselves, we will see more healthy things out here in our external world, for sure. So, and then knowing when to say no.
Yeah.
I've just recently had an experience where I was very excited about someone maybe coming back into my life, and it may happen, but it needs some space and time, and it's disappointing, but I'm like, nope, no, this doesn't feel right. This does not feel like this is what I want in my life. And this has been a long time for me to be able to do this. And I'm like, no, this needs to just not be there for a bit. And that's not about avoidance. It's about what am I willing to accept and not accept in my experience? Because when things feel out of integrity, no, not interested in that. So, and again, it's taken me a long time to get there. So what else can we talk about today? Because I feel like, is there anything else you want to say about that?
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that most of what we're talking about here doesn't only apply to other people in your life, but maybe groups or social cultures.
Yeah.
Let's say you're like a party scene, for example. I don't party a lot, so I'm not too sure how relatable I can be about it. But, if you're consistently urged to go outside, well, not right now, but just for an example, people keep telling you to come to the bar, come have some drinks, even though like you got to sleep, you've been tired and stuff like that. And there's that social pressure, and for weeks at a time, like you just keep going back because the people want you there, and you end up having a pretty decent time, but it's just like, you get tired, you get drained in ways that just don't feel very good for you. And using a lot of what we said, you can break away from that and just understand, like, have the conversations with the people like, hey, I've got finals, or, I gotta like sleep better. Like, this can't keep going like this. I gotta take care of myself. And if they're understanding, then that's awesome. That's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not, just like kind of go away for a bit, I guess.
Bye, Felicia.
Yeah, because that's a good no, I'd say, because if you kept doing that, there might be years down the road where you develop programs of like, oh, I don't deserve health because then I'm letting the people down and stuff like that. Like, that's just an example, but you could use it to kind of just take care of yourself with any other energy in general. It doesn't have to be a person,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah.
Yeah, do things that are in alignment with your well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And that does include things like social media, and part of the reason that negativity bothers us so much is that maybe we've repressed some of that within ourselves, or we're continuing to invite that into our lives, even though it makes us uncomfortable. Like things like he was saying, social media, okay, is one place where if I know that I've been either asked to join or put into groups that, I'll be in a group and I'll see some of the stuff that will pop up. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be exposed to this shit. This isn't useful. There's a bunch of drama and bitching and complaining, and cool. That's where they're at. That's awesome. I don't know these people. They aren't a part of my life. Why, when that is not helpful to me, it's not uplifting, it's not adding to my life in any way, would I expose myself to that? I would if I had an addiction to negativity and drama. But then I would probably complain about it and be like, no, and sometimes I'm curious and I'll see it play out. But I'm very, as it relates to social media and how you can use it in a way that is most beneficial. If you have things that are showing up on your feed that are drawing you into negativity, that are drawing you into to things that are not helpful for you, unfollow it. Period. Okay. You're in charge of what shows up on your feed. I don't know if you know this or not, but you get to choose what's on your feed. You don't have to see any posts from anybody that's posting stuff that you don't want to see. You just go boop, unfollow.
Same with ads.
It's as simple as that. Having to click on all the ads gets really annoying because the more you actually reject, the more ads pop up. I found that out. So I just scroll past them now. Yeah. So, yeah, the algorithms are interesting. But yeah, you do have control over what shows up in your feed. You have control over what groups you're a part of. You have control over how you're interacting with the rest of the world. You're in charge. Be in charge. And yes, there may be some places in your life where you have to be exposed to people that don't feel healthy for you, but be empowered in that. Whatever you have to do. Integrate some healthy energetic practices, set up some energetic boundaries. I have a video on YouTube about that. Cynthia Rose Healing Arts, where I talk about energetic boundaries. It's a good video. And again, always reach out to me privately via PM and book a session. That's what I'm here to help with, and I kind of know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Pretty good at it. So, I do offer really good insight and advice and input for people for specific situations that you're struggling with. But, I need to compensate for my time and I have a beautiful healing sanctuary that I need to keep, available to people so that they can come and heal and transform here. So, I have 2 children to feed and all kinds of things too. So I do need people to reach out and offer compensation for my professional services, for sure. So I do ask that if you need help, that you ask me as a professional to help you, for sure. So where else do we want to go with that?
Did you want me to click on that new comments thing?
Is there a question?
There's like 3 new comments.
Yeah. Sending you both love and light.
That was earlier.
Oh, down there. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yes, Sheldon, don't be deceived. Is this what you're also talking about? Do you understand the question? Hey, Rocky and Dustin.
I think so.
I said hello to everybody. Good morning.
Like that was probably maybe later when I was talking about something specific. So I'm just trying to remember back.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely helps because sometimes your desire to fit in supersedes your desire to be equalized within yourself.
Mhm.
You know, like for example, if there's like a group with money, like I don't know, country club, church, maybe, I don't know. Not all of them, of course. They might keep you coming back and having this like guise of friendliness, but really they just want your money and your resources. You know, like I'm saying,
Yeah.
not every church or country club.
People that manipulate.
Yeah, and so that's something to look at too if something like that happens, where think about how is this mutual? How is it going between? Like, how's the energy exchange going between? Because if your value is the experience, then maybe that's all right. But if your value is in fitting in and not feeling lonely, like then that's something that's a little imbalanced, because then that makes you dependent on that other energy, which isn't helping you, which doesn't help.
Yeah, people pleasing is really kind of what that boils down to. The tendency to people please, and often, unfortunately, I mean, the people that are supportive of us and kind to us and loving and all that, we don't have that distorted pattern of relating with them because we feel safe in that. It's the people that are maybe not healthy for us, okay, that we go into that place of people pleasing with. And they talk about it as one of the stress responses. So it's a new thing that they're talking about. I think this is fairly, much in the last like couple of years or so, but the stress responses of fight, flight, freeze, and then also fawn, where when we feel unsafe around someone or we don't feel accepted or, whatever, all the things that we've talked about that Sheldon's talking about, then we will go into this place of overcompensating and fawning over that person when really that's not in integrity with what we really want, because inside of us we're like, God, this person makes me so uncomfortable. Why do I feel like I need to prove myself to them? If you feel like you need to prove yourself or defend yourself or explain yourself to anyone when they're not being respectful towards you, just stop and think about what you're doing. Why do we need to feel accepted by people that don't accept us? That is a deep, deep wound. And, we can look at that, but we have to look at that with the most gentle, loving, kind eyes. Okay. And that really ultimately, why do people act out of line? For the most part, it's because they have insecurities. We're all pretty insecure here, Yeah. And yes, we can have different degrees of self-confidence, but there are times, like even when I feel super, good about who I am and what I'm doing here, a good part of the time. But then sometimes it'll be that one little thing that just like, holy crap, what? And is it a facade that I feel good about myself most of the time and stand in my worth? No, not at all. But those little insecurities that are inside of us, our little inner children are going to be, they're going to ask to be seen from time to time. And really, ultimately, the things that make us act in a discordant way are the things that are inside of us that feel uncomfortable and unloved and unsafe. So remember that and love one another. So I think is there anything else that you want to add?
Not entirely.
Okay. So for our alignment today, I'm not going to do an energetic alignment because this is an alignment in your lives as you go forward. Align with surrounding yourself with people who are healthy for you. Okay. And again, it's not about avoiding people that make you uncomfortable, because that sometimes is the greatest opportunity for growth. But make sure that it's healthy and that you can do that in a healthy way. And some people just are not operating in a healthy way. Okay. Align with a self-empowered presence within yourself. Integrate practices into your life that are going to be healthy and helpful for you. Make sure you're nourishing your bodies well so that you have the vitality to cope with all of this right now. Invite yourself to not use substances to numb out or cope. If you're doing that, look at other ways that you can help yourself. And there's a lot of other ways. Sheldon and I are developing some really amazing things here to help our human family. And it's going to be very powerful. And we are embedding a lot of intention into these things that will just activate different responses in people to help them in ways that, even language can't help, So, one of those things is moving beyond addictive patterns and things like that, because the addictive patterns are addictions to things that hurt us, and that includes being around people who are not healthy for us. So align with your own well-being on all levels and look at the places, maybe make some notes, look at the places where you are interacting with, people, places, things that are not healthy for you. And why are you doing that? And can you move beyond that, and look at where your alignments are that are really, truly supporting your well-being, your growth, your evolution, and your life purpose, and with love, move into alignment with those places. Okay. Everything can be done with love. Okay. So I love you all so much. Go forth and have a beautifully aligned day. And ask yourself, what do I want to align with today? All right. I love you all. Peace out.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for joining. Really appreciate you. Thanks for sharing your morning with us. Goodbye. Oh no, it's not letting us end the video.
Well,
no. There you go. Bye, everybody on YouTube. If anybody watched.
Yeah, I think Helen did.